You sat down to do the one thing that mattered today. You knew it was important, and still, you could not move. So you reached for the word you always reach for: lazy. But that word is a lie. What you have been calling laziness is not weakness, and it is not a broken will. It is one of the oldest and most sophisticated protection systems your brain has ever built. And right now, in its own strange way, it is trying to keep you safe. For most of your life, you have been handed a simple story. There are two kinds of people: the disciplined ones who push through, and the lazy ones who give up. That story feels true. It explains why some people seem to glide toward everything they want while you sit frozen on the couch, quietly hating yourself. But the deeper scientists look into what is actually happening inside a so-called lazy brain, the more that story falls apart. Because the brain that refuses to move is not doing nothing at all. It is running one of the most complex calculations in biology. And once you understand what it is calculating, you will never hear that word the same way again. Start with a single uncomfortable fact. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, yet it burns close to 20% of your energy. It is the most expensive organ you own, in the world your ancestors evolved in. That energy was not something you were allowed to waste. Food was scarce. A single failed hunt could mean starvation. A wasted afternoon could mean death when winter came. So your brain developed a rule so deep you do not even notice it running. Never spend effort unless the reward is clearly worth it. Every time you feel that thick, heavy resistance before a task, you are not meeting a character flaw. You are meeting an ancient accountant inside your skull, checking whether the cost is worth the payoff. And very often, it has already decided the answer is no. For a long time, scientists assumed motivation was simple. You either had willpower or you did not. Then a neuroscientist named Michael Treadway designed an experiment that quietly took that idea apart. He offered people a choice. They could do an easy task for a small reward or a harder task for a bigger one. Nothing unusual on the surface. But when he looked inside their brains, he found something revealing. The people who kept choosing the easy option were not weak, and they were not broken. Their brains simply released less dopamine in the regions that weigh effort against reward. Their motivation system was working exactly as designed. It had just run the numbers and decided the extra effort was not worth the fuel. What looked like laziness from the outside was a precise cost and benefit decision on the inside. So if your brain is always running these calculations, why does it so often decide that the very thing you want most is not worth the effort? Part of the answer lives in a fold of tissue near the front of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. Think of it as the place where effort gets its price tag. It does not simply measure how hard a task is. It weighs that difficulty against how certain you feel about the reward at the end. And here is what makes modern life so brutal on it. The rewards that matter most to you now are slow, distant, and never guaranteed. The finished project, the healthier body, the life you keep quietly promising yourself. Meanwhile, a small, bright, effortless reward sits inches from your hand at every moment of the day. A psychiatrist named Anna Lenka has written about how your phone hands you quick and reliable hits of dopamine on demand, while the things you actually care about make you wait weeks, months, or years with no promise they will ever pay off. To an organ built to conserve energy and chase sure rewards, that is not a fair contest. So it reaches for the certain thing, not because you are broken, because that is exactly what it evolved to do. The next part of the answer begins with fear. Think about the last task you truly avoided. It was rarely the small, easy things. It was the important one, the project that might be judged, the message that might be rejected, the dream that might quietly fail. A psychologist spent years studying procrastination, and what he found surprised even him. Procrastination has almost nothing to do with laziness or poor time management. It is about emotion. When a task makes you feel anxious or inadequate or afraid of failing, your brain does something clever and quietly desperate. It steers you away from the task so you can escape the feeling. The relief you get from picking up your phone instead of working is not weakness. It is your brain regulating an emotion it does not know how to sit with. Another researcher, Fuchsia Sorois, described it plainly. Procrastination is a way of coping with difficult feelings in the present at the cost of your future self. Deep in your brain sits the amygdala, the part that scans the world for threat. And it cannot tell the difference between a charging predator and a blank page that might make you look foolish. To it, both are danger. and its entire job is to pull you back from danger. So the resistance you feel is not a flaw in your character. It is protection, but it gets stranger, because sometimes your brain does not just slow you down. Sometimes it shuts you off completely. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Martin Seligman uncovered something unsettling about how living things respond to a world they cannot control. When effort is met with failure again and again, the brain eventually stops trying. Not because it is lazy, because it has learned that effort seems to change nothing. He called it learned helplessness. And here is the part that matters for you tonight. That shutdown is not a malfunction. It is a strategy. If nothing you do appears to work, then burning precious energy on more failed effort would only leave you more depleted and more exposed. So your brain does the mathematically sensible thing. It conserves. It withdraws. It waits for better odds. What you experience as "I just cannot bring myself to do anything" is often your brain shielding you from pouring energy into a situation it has quietly judged as hopeless. The real tragedy is not that your brain is lazy. It is that your brain is trying to protect you using old and outdated information. Now pour stress on top of all of it. Robert Sapolsky, a neuroscientist who spent decades studying stress, showed that your body was never designed for the kind of pressure you now live under. Your stress response evolved for short, sharp emergencies. A threat appears, your body floods with fuel, you act, and then it ends. The lion leaves. The danger passes. But modern life never ends. The deadlines, the bills, the endless comparison, the noise that follows you into bed. It never fully switches off. And when stress becomes constant, your brain and body begin to run dangerously low on fuel. This is where something called the freeze response appears. A researcher named Stephen Porges described how, when a threat feels too big to fight and too relentless to outrun, the nervous system reaches for a third and final option. It powers you down. It pulls the emergency brake. That foggy, heavy, cannot lift a finger feeling that people are so quick to call laziness is often exactly this. A body so overwhelmed that it has chosen stillness as a form of survival. You are not failing to cope. You are coping in the only way your body has left. So what does all of this actually mean for you? Right now, sitting there, unable to start? It means the voice that has been calling you lazy has been wrong the entire time. Every single moment you have frozen, avoided, shut down, or given up, your brain was not betraying you. It was sending a message. Laziness is not a character flaw. Laziness is information. It is your brain saying one of a few very specific things. This will cost more energy than you currently have. Or, this feels emotionally dangerous and I want to spare you the pain. Or, you have been running on empty for far too long. Or, nothing you have tried has worked, and I am trying to protect whatever strength you have left. The people who seem endlessly disciplined are not built from stronger material than you. Very often, they simply carry a brain that feels safe enough, rested enough, and certain enough of the reward to approve the effort. Their inner accountant said yes. Yours said no, and your brain had its reasons. This is why forcing yourself harder so rarely works for long. You cannot shame an alarm system into going quiet. When you push through with guilt and self-hatred, you are fighting the very thing that is trying to protect you, and it will only brace harder. But when you get curious instead, everything begins to shift. When you stop asking "why am I so lazy?" and start asking "what is my brain trying to protect me from?" you finally speak its language. Sometimes the answer is rest, because the tank is genuinely empty. Sometimes it is shrinking the task so small that your brain no longer flags it as a threat worth freezing over. Sometimes it is admitting that the reward stopped feeling real, and you need a reason that actually means something to you again. And sometimes it is simply telling your brain that it is safe, that this blank page cannot actually hurt you, that failing at this will not end you the way a failed hunt once ended your ancestors. Your brain believes the stakes are life and death, because for most of human history, they were. Part of working with it is gently teaching it that the world it is bracing against is not the world you actually live in anymore. You do not defeat this system by going to war with it. You work with it by listening. So the next time you sit down to do the one thing that matters, and you find that you cannot move, stop before you reach for that old and cruel word. You are not lazy. You never were. You are carrying a brain that has spent millions of years learning how to keep you alive, and right now, in its own clumsy and ancient way, it is trying to protect you. The only real question left is whether you will finally listen to what it has been trying to say. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. A new video goes up on this channel every single day. It would mean everything to have you here.